everyone, Andre here. I'm sure some of you were waiting for part 3 of the series on how to build your own recording studio. I'm waiting for some gear still from Germany. It's coming probably this week or the next. As soon as I have it, I'll make the third video. I just want to wait to get it because I really want to do something that deals with something a bit larger than living room or bedroom studio. You know, for those of you who maybe have a garage or even a few rooms dedicated to your recording needs. Then it will be very helpful. You know, we'll talk a little bit about microphones and stuff like that. All right, but before we can do it, I really need to get some gear so that the video will, will be clearer. So hang in there, and as soon as I have the gear, I'll do it. All right. In the meantime, I had a request last week from a subscriber asking if I could make a video on how to use a metronome, which is actually a great suggestion, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet in these years that I've been making videos. So these videos will be very short and very simple, but the practice won't be. So check it out. So the first thing is that you figure out if what you're playing fits a group of 4 or a group of 3. Alright, there's more complicated things, but if you're learning how to use the metronome, that's what you'll use. You'll use something that either is a group of 4 notes, which includes either 1 note per beat, 2 notes per beat, which is the 8th note, or 4 notes per beat, which is the 16th note. What that means, with something very simple, you could play 1 note per beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. You could play 2 notes per beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could play 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? Very simple. And that's the main subdivision for this group. Otherwise, you have the group of triplets, which is 3 notes per beat. And what we'll do there is just use either 1 note per beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, or we would use 3 notes per beat, which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we divide the beat into 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, like that. Almost anything that you'll ever play can be either assigned to either one or the other. If you're doing very complex things, that you probably don't need this video anyway, so we'll keep it simple for now. Alright, so that's the first thing. Next, what you want to do is find an exercise or a little bit of music that really will help you focus on the rhythm and not too much on your hands. So I will give you a little suggestion. It's something very simple. And let's start with a group of 4. Alright, so we're going to play either 1 note per beat, 2 notes per beat, or 4 notes per beat. And the exercise is very simple. We go on any string. Let's use the third one. And let's play 9, 10, 12, 10. And it sounds like this. Of course, if we repeat it, that's what it sounds like. Now, of course, this can be viewed as playing 1 note per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. We could view it as playing 2 notes per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or we could view it as playing 4 notes per beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the speed at which you play does not necessarily follow how many notes you play per beat. You could have a very slow metronome and play a lot of notes per beat, and it will still be slower than having, faster, than having a fast metronome but only playing 1 note per beat. So speed is not very important. What's important now is the subdivision of the tempo. Okay, so how do we progress with the metronome? Let's check out a table here. So it would be useful if you could write this down. So as a matter of fact, if you haven't, you can go back just a few seconds in the video and write it down, and then we'll explain it. Okay, so the main thing is, if we're playing groups of 4, we want to progress through the tempo in a way that doesn't stress our hands and our ear. So the main thing is, let's start very simple. Let's play 9, 10, 12, 10, 1 note per beat. And it sounds like this. That's at 60 BPMs. That means we play 1 note every second. We can play this. My rule was to play everything 10 times perfectly before I could move up, speed up the thing. Some people will say 5, some will say 3, depending how lazy you are. So if you want to do 10, that's a great way to do it. And so let's say that you can play 10 times on time, perfectly, without mistakes, without any imprecision, then what you can do is raise the tempo. How do we raise it? Well, if you copy down the table, it says from 60 you can go to 70. So it's just a tiny bit faster, and you play it again and it sounds like this. Very well, so if you play 10 times without any mistakes, you can move up to 80, and then play that 10 times, then 90, play that 10 times, 100, 110, and 120. 120 sounds like this. So you see, it's still pretty slow. The problem is if we keep going with the metronome, we go up and up and up. Some metronomes go to 208, some go to 300. Even 300 is still pretty slow. You can play very fast with the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's still pretty slow, so it's necessary to start dividing the tempo. So once we get to 120, what we do is go back to 60, as you can see in the table there, and then we will play 2 notes per second. And I mean, sorry, 2 notes per beat. In this very first exercise, which is 60, then it will also be 2 notes per second. So we go down to 60 again, but this time we play 2 notes per each beat, and it sounds like this. Okay, so now that you have that repeated 10 times, what you have to do is go up again with the metronome. We don't want to go up 10 points on the metronome now, because that will be twice as fast as before, when we're doing just 1 note per beat. So we go down, just up 5, 5, 5. Alright, so if we can play 60 10 times, we have to go up to 65. Then if we can play 65, we go 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and so on again until we get to 120. At 120, 2 notes per beat sounds like this. Alright, so as you may have guessed now, we go back to 60 and we play 4 notes per beat, okay, which sound like this. And then we keep going up. So if you can play 10 times 60, we go 63, 66, 69. This time we just go up 3 points to make it as consistent as before, as far as procase goes. So we go 72, 75, 78. If you get to 120, then you keep going, alright? Eventually you'll get to a point where it's very fast. Usually any more than, depending on what you play, but 14, 15, 16 notes per second becomes a bit complicated, and at that point you'll already know how to use a metronome, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, so this is how it works for groups of 4. If you were doing groups of 3, which means that eventually your song will have to be played in a triplet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, this whole thing will not work. So what this means is that you start the exercise, this time remember it was 9, 10, 12, only 3 notes. You start the exercise by playing again at 60, 1 note per second, and you play 1 note per beat. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it sounds like this with the metronome. So as you keep progressing, we go 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, but now we keep going until we reach 180, alright? Because then when we go back to 60, it will be the same as playing triplets. So we go 180, and 180 sounds like this. Alright, so now we're at 180. What we do is go back to 60, but this time you play 3 notes per second, or 3 notes per beat, 60, and it sounds like this. As you can see, as always, when you go back to 60, the speed you're playing is the same, but your subdivision is different. So instead of playing like this, you play within this, but you still play at the same total speed. Now from 60, what you do is raising 5, 5, 5, you go 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, and so on. Usually you can keep going with triplets, you get to a point where it's too fast, If you want to, another option is you go to 120 with triplets, go back to 60 and play 6 notes per beat, which sounds like this at 60. Okay, so this last thing is only either you're advanced or you're playing fast, or the song you want to play requires this. Alright, so you go for triplets, you go 1 per beat until 180, you go back to 60, you play 3 notes per beat until either whatever speed you want, or when you reach 120 you go back and you play 6 notes per beat. And in that case, probably when you get to 100, 120, you'll start really seeing that it's very fast. Okay, so this is it. I'm going to put up the table one more time so that you can copy it, and then we'll close this video. Very well, so you have your table. As you can see, just decide either your exercise or your piece of music is divided in groups of 4 or groups of 3. Okay, and just follow the table. Again, how precise you are with your 10 repetitions or 5 or whatever is really up to you. I used to think that anything that sounded like a mistake was a mistake, and so I was pretty strict with that. You can be maybe a little more relaxed. It really depends on you. Okay, any questions or commentaries, please leave them here on the YouTube channel, and I'll see you hopefully soon for the next installment on the How to Build Your Recording Studio series. Alright, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.